You ever watch an elite athlete and just wonder, how do they do that? How do they look so calm and graceful in the middle of total chaos on the field or the court? Well, their secret isn't some kind of magic. It's a really specific way of thinking about and training movement. It's all built on a framework called Movement Fundamentals, or MOF for short. And we're about to break down exactly how it gives athletes clarity in the midst of chaos.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? You're watching a world-class soccer player, a top basketball pro, and they just glide through this storm of bodies and unpredictable plays. It looks almost supernatural. But here's the thing, it's not. It is absolutely a skill that can be trained. The real question is, how?
Well, to get to that answer, we first have to really wrap our heads around the challenge modern athletes are up against. See, the games they actually play look nothing like the neat, tidy, and predictable drills that so many of them grew up doing.
To really get a grip on this chaos, there's a great acronym, RIM-DMC. Sports today are random. Things happen without warning. They're intermittent. It's not a steady jog. It's all-out bursts of action, then moments of recovery. And then you've got the big ones, multi-directional, multi-mode, and multi-context. That just means you got to be ready to move in any direction, using any skill, while reading and reacting to a constantly changing game. It's pure organized chaos.
And right there, that's the core of the problem. So much of traditional training is done in straight lines. It's predictable. It's controlled. It basically prepares an athlete for a game that doesn't exist. The real game is messy and wild. And this creates a huge and honestly dangerous disconnect between how they train and how they have to perform.
So what happens when an athlete tries to jam those clean, rehearsed drills into a chaotic game without the right foundation? You get something called dysrhythmia. It's exactly what it sounds like. The natural flow, the rhythm of movement, just breaks. The transitions between putting force into the ground and absorbing it become clunky and jerky. And not only is that super inefficient, it's a recipe for injury.
Okay, so if the game is chaos, how in the world do we prepare for it? We can't predict it. So instead of a map, what we really need is a compass, a set of guiding principles to keep us pointed in the right direction, no matter what the game throws at us.
And this is where the philosophy of movement fundamentals really steps in. It gives us that compass with the SAFE principle. The idea is to build movement that is, first, safe. Then you need to be able to adapt to anything on the fly. It also has to be fun, because if you don't enjoy it, you won't stick with it and learn. And finally, it has to be efficient, so you're not wasting precious energy.
It's all built on this one simple but incredibly powerful idea. Make sure your capacity is always greater than the load. Think of it like your physical and mental bank account. You want to have more resources, more strength, more skill, better decision-making than the game demands from you at any given moment. That difference, that's your buffer. That's what gives you resilience and the ability to adapt. Now, when we talk about being a great athlete, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's speed. But what is speed, really? I can tell you it's a lot more than just how fast you can run a 40-yard dash.
This framework has a much better term for it. Multi-directional speed, or MDS. And that name says it all, doesn't it? Real athletic speed isn't just about going forward. It's the ability to speed up, slow down, and pivot into any of the 360 degrees around you, whenever the game demands it, and to do it all without getting hurt.
To really get MDS, you have to see it as two halves of a whole. I love this analogy. Think of a race car. You've got the mechanical side, that's the physical body, the powerful engine that creates all the horsepower. But then you have the contextual side. That's the brain, the intelligent driver who sees the track, makes split-second decisions, and actually steers the car. You can't win with just one. You need both. So let's pop the hood on the mechanical side. We're building the engine here. This is pure physics. It's about being able to direct force where you need it to go. It's about how much power you can create and, crucially, how fast you can create it. That's called rate of force development, or RFD. It's about using your body's natural bungee cords, its elasticity, and tying it all together with smooth continuity to avoid that jerky, dangerous dysrhythm. But hey, a Ferrari engine is useless if the driver's looking at their phone. The contextual side. The driver is all about the brain. It's about perception, reading the game and seeing what's about to happen.
It's using deception to sell a fake and send your opponent the wrong way. It's lightning-fast decision-making, running through that observe, orient, decide, act loop. And it's making sure all your body parts are working together, sharing the job, so no single part gets overloaded.
So, we need a powerful engine and a brilliant driver. Great, but how on earth do you actually build all of that? It sounds complicated, but the approach here is actually really elegant. It treats learning movement just like learning a new language. You don't start by writing poetry, right? You start with your ABCs.
In the language of movement, the alphabet is made up of what we call movement primitives. These are the absolute tiniest building blocks of action. A simple push, a rotation, a brace. Think about it, every single complex, amazing athletic skill you've ever seen is just a combination of these incredibly simple little pieces.
And the way we learn is through a process called chunking. It's so intuitive. First, you master the alphabet, the individual movement primitives. Then you start putting those letters together to form basic words. We call these chunks of movement. And once you have a vocabulary, you can start stringing those chunks together to write full sentences, those fluid, complex skills you need to solve problems in a real game.
Okay, but we all know there's a huge difference between knowing the words and being able to have a quick, witty conversation at a loud, chaotic party. So how do we close that gap between practicing a skill and actually using it under the bright lights?
This is where the framework splits training into two distinct modes. Think of it as the lab and the field. In the lab, you have technical preparation, or TP. That's your controlled, focused practice. Out on the field, you've got free application, or FA, and that's messy, unpredictable, just like the real game.
Technical preparation in the lab is all about building your toolbox. This is where you work on the mechanical side of things. You're mastering those movement primitives, polishing your technique, and building that powerful engine. It's quiet, it's controlled, and it's deliberate.
But once your tools are sharp, you have to learn when and how to use them. That's where free application on the field comes in. This is where the contextual side, the driver, takes the wheel. You're thrown into messy, game-like problems, and you're forced to perceive, decide, and act. It's about figuring out which tool to grab from your toolbox to solve the problem that's right in front of your face, right now.
And all of this leads to the final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, it might be the most powerful idea in this whole framework. It's a fundamental shift in perspective that makes everything else we've talked about incredibly practical.
It's called reverse engineering, and it's so simple, it's brilliant. Instead of just doing a bunch of drills and hoping they help you in the game, you start from the end. You look at a successful moment in a real game, a goal, a great defensive play, whatever, and you work backwards. You break it down. What decisions had to be made? What movement primitives were used? And then you design your training to build exactly those skills.
And that just perfectly sums up the entire goal here. The point of movement fundamentals is not to create robotic athletes with picture-perfect form. The real world is way too messy for that. The real goal is to develop tough, resilient, and adaptable athletes who can walk into any chaotic situation and figure out how to solve the movement problem.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look at how you train, or how you coach your athletes, are you just practicing movements, or are you building a deep toolbox of skills, developing an intelligent driver behind the wheel, and reverse engineering your practice to build real-world solutions? Because that difference, that's everything.